Hello! Welcome to my channel. My name is Krista Llewellyn and I am a professional makeup artist and a makeup educator, and today I'm going to be doing another bag review. In my last makeup bag review, I did a review of the Relavel makeup train case in the size large, and today I'm going to be doing a review of actually two items from Relavel bags. One of them is their makeup backpack, and the other one is their makeup brush case. So I'm going to go through my list of pros and cons on both items with you, and I'll let you know of whether or not you should actually spend your money to invest in these items. So without further ado, let's get into the review. Just a side note, I am actually not sponsored by Relavel bags. I have done some Amazon reviews for them, but not for any of these cases that I'll be showing you today. I think I was supposed to be doing an Amazon review for the makeup brush case, but I don't think I actually got reimbursed for that, so none of this is sponsored. First, I will be going through my pros for the Relavel backpack. So just a brief overview of what this bag actually is. This is the makeup backpack from Relavel bags. It is really nice that you can be able to move around the compartments just like you can in the Relavel train case. It's just a little bit more compact for travel and things like that. And my first pro for this is that it's easy to carry. Because it is a backpack, I can just throw it on top of my shoulders and not have my spine sort of disaligned by the heaviness of my case, like with the Relavel train case, which sort of goes like a messenger bag and fits over your one shoulder. This has it on both shoulders, so it has a nice weight distribution, and the little straps for the actual backpack are super comfortable. There's lots of padding on the back side of the backpack too, so that you don't have a lot of like hard plastic hitting your back. So it's super comfortable and super easy to carry. The second thing that I really like about this case is that it has a little bit of a taller height to it, so I can actually stand up my 4-ounce spray bottles. So in my previous Relavel train case review, one of my cons was actually that I couldn't stand up all of my bottles. All of my spray bottles, which I have downsized to the 4-ounce little individual spray bottles, they don't stand up perfectly in my Relavel train case. But in my backpack, the height of the actual case itself is the perfect amount for those bottles to stand up, which is super important because this case I'm using for my special effects case, and none of those items I want spilling in this case because that means an absolute disaster for the case. So having them be able to all perfectly stand up and fit all together nicely is really important. And that brings me to my third pro, which is carried over from my Relavel train case as well, and that is all of the compartments in there are super customizable. So for me, I've actually taken a lot of the compartments out so that I can sort of Tetris everything perfectly in there for me to fit my full kit. But there's lots of room for you to sort of experiment and work around with the different dividers that they provide for you. And on that same note, because I have all of my products already stood up and laid out within the case itself, it is super easy to set up. All I have to do is plop my case onto the counter, tuck in those little backpack straps, open it up, and then I'm ready to work out of it. So it makes setup super quick, super easy, and you don't have to go searching for any of your products. Everything's all perfectly laid out. And my last pro for this bag is actually a little bit of an improvement from the Relavel train case. In my previous video, I didn't really like that front pocket that it provided. It had lots of room, but it was sort of encased within the height of what's allowed in the case itself. So if you put too much stuff in there, it sort of looks like it's bursting at the seams. With this case, there's a little bit more of an accordion sort of style pocket to it, where the pocket on the front is a separate space than the stuff that's on the opposite pocket. So you're able to put in a lot of stuff, and instead of having all of that extra room and extra space sort of compact down into the case, it's relieved up into the other space because there's a little bit more space in that front pocket with how it's sewn on, so that the space goes upwards instead of getting stuck down within the case. So now to go over my cons list, so the things that I don't really like about this case. First, number one item on that list is actually that the wrong kind of fabric that it's covered in. So on the Relavel train case, it's actually covered in this sort of nylon woven material, which is nice because it's not like 100% like vinyl or super plasticky, but it is still a plastic, so you can disinfect and clean it a little bit easier. This case, on the other hand, I'm pretty sure is made out of canvas. Now online it does say that it is waterproof or water resistant, but the fabric itself feels much more of like a heavy-duty canvas, which will be a lot harder to clean if you were to get, say, a little bit of product smudged on there, or God forbid if I accidentally spill any glue on this case, it will be really, really difficult to clean up because that fabric is going to absorb it. My second thing that I don't like so much about this case is that it's actually a little bit smaller than my train case. And again, the train case that I have is in the size large. That's not even the biggest size that's available. And while this case is a little bit taller in height, the overall width and footprint of the case itself is just slightly smaller. It's like maybe an inch smaller, which doesn't allow for a lot of extra room for product. Luckily, because this is my special effects kit, there's not like 1.5 million things that I have to have in there, and downsizing all of my kit has certainly helped me to fit everything within my kit. But I just wish I had that extra like inch or so for a little bit more wiggle room with my product. And talking about things being a little bit bigger, I really wish the side pockets that are provided were actually bigger. These pockets don't accordion out quite like the front pocket does, which gives you a little bit of that room. The sides are accordioned out, but the bottoms taper to a 0. And that doesn't really leave much room if you wanted to, say, put a package of tissues in that side compartment, which it should be used for because there is a little slot for tissues, but no tissue box is actually ever going to fit in there. I just wish that the bottom was finished off like the sides so that it gives you that little bit of extra room to actually put product in. You can't fit a water bottle, you can't fit tissues. I can barely fit my mats. What I use those side pockets for are my setup mats and my chair cover. And what I do is I put the bottom into that pocket and use those little extra straps that they have around the side for extra security. I strap those in that way so that the top part of my mats are secured. And that's about the only thing that I can fit in those. So, another one of my cons is actually the fact that the straps sort of get in the way when you go to put your case on the counter itself. They do have a little slot where you can tuck in the straps of the backpack, but with that, with the extra padding that's on the back, it doesn't really sit 100% level. And especially if you tuck in those straps incorrectly, it's gonna sit super lopsided and be a little weird. So I'm not really sure what the solution is for that, if it's making the straps completely detachable, if it's making a different mechanism to be tucking those straps in. I think there's a little bit more room for improvement. It's not like 100% like super annoying, it's not super off kilter, but it is enough where I've noticed it before. And then my very last final con or thing that I don't really like about the case is actually one of the features that it advertises on the Amazon listing as like a pro, and that is its charging cord. It is advertised as having a charging cord attached to your backpack so that you can charge a small device through the USB port. In theory, this works great. You think, oh cool, a detachable battery where I can just, you know, carry this backpack with me onto location, and if I need to have an extra charging brick for my phone, plug it into my case. That's not the situation that we have going on here. You have to plug in the bag in order to use the charging cable. So it's essentially just a larger charging cable. If you don't have a brick, for instance, no, not even then, you have to have a brick to get the base of it to plug in. It doesn't hold a charge. I tried testing it. I tried like plugging it in for a little bit when I first got it, and then unplugging it and plugging in another device. Doesn't work like that. The only way that you can charge your phone is if that cord is plugged into a wall and then your phone plugged into that outer port. So it seems kind of dumb to me. I don't really know why I would need that if I just could have my phone plugged into a normal outlet. So it just seems bulky. The cord kind of gets in the way sometimes. I have like tucked it on the outside of the plastic casing that's surrounding the inside of the case, just to get it out of the way because I really don't use it. So those are my pros and cons for this Relavel makeup backpack. Overall, I really enjoy the backpack. I do like how it is easy, just throw on my shoulders. It doesn't weigh me down a lot. And I have been able to get my almost full special effects kit fit inside of it. So I'm really happy with it. I do wish there was a few of those changes. If they come out with one that is a nylon covered or vinyl covered one, I'm 100% getting that. And if they make one that's just slightly bigger, I'm 100% into that too. That's my review on it. You can make up your own decision of whether or not you want to invest in this case. It is not as cheap as the Relavel train case. I believe that one was like $34. This one's almost $70. It's $69.99, and that's if you have Prime. The non-Prime deal is $100 for this case, but it is definitely a little bit more of an investment than just the train case itself. And as a little bit of a bonus, I'm going to be reviewing my makeup brush case. So this I did get through the Relavel Instagram. I did it as a Amazon review sort of thing, sort of collaboration we'll call it. I don't think I got paid for this one, so technically it's not really sponsored, even though I don't get paid to do the other ones, I just get reimbursed for the product itself. But this one online is listed not under Relavel, but under Monstina, which I think is a subsidiary of Relavel cases, because the case that I got for my airbrush materials is also that same brand. If you're interested in seeing how I like to keep my airbrush kit, you can go onto my Instagram, and in my reels, I have a little bit of a review of that as well. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested in it, but I will be doing a full video a little bit later. So I'm not going to do the 5 pros and cons for this little brush case. I'm just going to do 3 of each. So my first pro for the makeup brush case is that it's portable. I really like how small it is. It has a little bit of a strap that goes around it, so I can wear it like a brush belt without having it all exposed to the air like a brush belt does. There's been several times where I've just taken this whole case with me on set before, just strapped it around my body along with my set bag, and that way I'm ready to do whatever touch-ups I need. The second pro for this, which I just sort of mentioned, is that it's super sanitary. It does have a little bit of a zipper with a vinyl casing so that you can keep all of your brushes safe and not exposed to the air around it. So especially with COVID and every precaution that we're taking now to have everything be as sanitary as possible, I really do not like having open brushes just like out and sitting in the air. It's one thing if I'm working on someone and I'm like putting their dirty brush and just sort of like having it out, but I don't like it sitting out and being exposed to the air and being exposed to anyone who could walk by. This was a big reason why I never really wore a brush belt. I did very, very early on in my career, obviously for the convenience of having a brush available to you at any time, but whenever you would like sit in a chair, if you were like walking over to Crafty, someone brushes up against you because it's maybe a tight, compact set, all of your brushes are being exposed to anything that's in the air, anything that's on that chair, anything that's on that person's hand that maybe bumped into you, and that's a lot of bacteria that you don't want on your client's face. So having something to fully cover your brushes so that it's not exposed is very helpful, and I love this feature. My last pro for this case is that it holds a lot of brushes. I do have a lot of brushes. I definitely need more. I don't have as many as I probably should, but it holds absolutely all of my brushes, and I have a lot of brushes, so they all fit really nice. I do have a little bit of wiggle room to add a few more brushes. Now to walk you through some of my cons of this makeup brush case. Number one is that The dividers are a little too bulky. It's the same sort of foam dividers that you see in their train cases and in the makeup backpack. I don't really need to have my brushes shock protected as much as I do with, say, my products and things like that. So I don't really necessarily need the foam inserts into them, but I also can't take out the extra little like foam cup in the center to put my own plastic dividers into it. So they're a little bulky. I'm not able to divide up the brushes as much as I would like because of that. Maybe just like a plastic case that either you could put dividers in or I could put my own dividers in, but I'm just really not into the foam dividers. The second con of this is very similar to the backpack, and that is it's made out of that same canvas material. Now, not all of it is. The actual part that touches the brushes itself is made out of a vinyl, but it has a black mesh over that vinyl on the outer side. And that also makes things a little bit difficult to clean, because if something's on the vinyl on the inside and the black mesh is like sitting on top, you can't really like get underneath it to clean 100%. And then the bottom little strap where the actual like cup and dividers are is made out of that same canvas material that the backpack is made out of. Again, online it says that this is a water resistant material, but I have a feeling that it's going to be a little hard to clean. And my last and final con, or thing that I really don't like about this brush case, is that because there's a lot of room and things are sort of loose in there, the dividers aren't like perfectly like stacking everything into one, my brushes sort of can topple and tumble around, and some of my smaller brushes have gotten wedged on like the inside of the dividers themselves. So there's a little bit too much wiggle room in there, especially if I do have to just like throw it in my car at the end of the day, or how I have my cases like stacked up. It's better for me to lay it on its side than on normally so that the brushes don't get smushed, and that causes some problems. If the zipper is closed all the way, I'm not having any brushes fall on the floor, but things do tend to move out of place, so we'll say. So that is my review for the Relavel makeup brush case. This does retail for about $15 on Amazon. The links for both of these cases will be in the description below. That way, if you are interested in any of these cases, you can check them out on Amazon, but you can buy them on Relavel Case's website themselves instead of going through the third party of Amazon. That's it for today's video. I hope that you found this informative, and I hope that it helped you make a decision on whether or not you want to purchase some of these cases, or maybe gave you some ideas for how you would like to pack your kit. If you have any questions or any suggestions for videos that you would like to see, go ahead and leave a comment below. A lot of my videos have been few and far between, and I apologize for that, but as things are getting busier, I am busier and don't have as much time to film and edit the content, but I am trying to get a big push out for October, so please stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.